This sauce looks awesome. Smells good too. Hey, what's up? For this episode of Tasty Tuesday, we are making a polenta pizza. The recipe comes from Forks Over Knives, so I will post a link to the recipe in the video description down below so you can check it out. We will be modifying this recipe today to suit our tastes and just changing a few things because we don't have all the ingredients. We'll just make do with what we have. So this is our first time making this recipe, so we're just gonna wing it and see how it turns out. So to make this recipe, you need polenta, or corn flour, and we will be seasoning that with this sea salt herb grinder. You need a can of diced tomatoes, tomato paste, black pepper, and then these are the herbs we're using today. Rosemary, thyme, dried onion, and oregano. For the veggie toppings, you'll need fresh mushrooms, 2 medium zucchini, 2 red bell peppers, fresh basil. I feel like the fresh basil would be optional, but since I really like it, I'm gonna put it in there anyways. Nutritional yeast, which is also optional, but since we have it, we're gonna use it. The recipe also calls for 2 8-inch pie pans, and we don't have those, so we bought these. I think 2 of these should be fine. First, we have to make the polenta crust, and once that's finished and chilling in the fridge, I will make the tomato sauce, and once that's done, I will make the veggie toppings that'll go on the pizza. And then at the very end, we'll put everything together and then bake it in the oven. So this recipe tells us to use 2 cups of polenta to 8 cups of water. And to my knowledge, polenta is just corn flour, and that's what we found at the shop. And so since we don't have a measuring cup, I am just using this little glass as an approximation for a cup. Because it really doesn't matter if it's exact as long as the ratio is 2 to 8. Since we want to try to follow the recipe, since I've never made polenta before. So I'm just trusting their guidance. So once it comes up to a boil, I'll add the polenta slowly, mix it in there. We don't have a whisk, so the risk is that it might clump up, but I'll use a fork and a spatula and just try to break it up. So it's like nice and smooth, and then we're gonna cook that. The recipe says for 15 to 20 minutes until all the water's absorbed and the polenta's nice and smooth, and then we will pour that into our pans for the crust. This is kind of dangerous because it's like right by.
Yeah.
Oh, it's chunky already.
I would be mixing it continuously while you're...
Okay. Ah, it's chunky.
Maybe you can use the potato masher.
Oh, the masher thing? Maybe. Just gonna be a bit chunky, that's all.
But the clumps are disappearing.
Yeah. Yeah, a whisk would be handy. Maybe I should have got one before we made this. Yeah, the recipe says to cook it covered too, but I'm just gonna do it uncovered so I can get all these clumps. If we had a strainer, like a fine metal strainer, I would just pour it through there and that would get rid of all the clumps. Alright, so this is still a little chunky, but I think it's done. Apart from the chunks. So I'm going to turn the heat off, season it with some of this sea salt and herb blend, and then we will pour it into the pans and let it rest. Just chunky, it's okay. It's going to turn into one massive chunk when we chill it, so.
Yeah.
It looks like corn chowder. This recipe is supposed to be like a blend of pizza and casserole. Thanks, Kuba, for helping me film.
No problem. Always happy to.
Tastes like corn.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly, not. Yeah, when this totally cools, it's just gonna be solid. So this is how you make like polenta fries, where you would like chill this, you can cut them, bread them, fry them, whatever. Difficult part done. The recipe says to let it cool to room temperature and then refrigerate for at least an hour. It also called for ground flax seeds, which I assume is just to help it hold together, so it'll give it some, like a binder, but we kept that out as well just because I never use flax seeds, so we didn't want to buy them. Alright, so for the sauce, The original recipe calls for fresh tomatoes, but since we already have these canned tomatoes, we're just gonna use this instead. I'm just gonna add all the sauce ingredients into the pot. So I have 1 can of diced tomatoes, half a jar of tomato paste, just a few spoonfuls of that, black pepper, teaspoon of oregano, teaspoon of dried thyme, teaspoon of rosemary, and a teaspoon of dried onion. Now I'm just heating up all of the sauce ingredients just to bring them together. This doesn't really have to cook for long. If you were using fresh tomatoes, you would have to let this cook for longer. You would just cook them until all the water evaporates from the tomatoes and the sauce is nice and thick. So now that this is simmering, I'm just gonna turn off the heat and leave this covered and just let the flavors come together that way. So now Kuba is gonna prep the veggies. Yeah, maybe we should just do 1 zucchini.
I think I'll do 1 first.
Okay.
And I'll also do 1 pepper.
Okay.
And then we will see.
Okay. You don't have to peel the zucchini. We just don't like the skin. Or I guess you don't like the skin. I don't really care.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No!
My fingers are tough. It's like if it's on
On the tip?
the pot, then it's like
Yeah.
they're like steel from playing guitar.
Oh, okay. Scary. Yeah, I kind of feel like half of this polenta would have been fine for 2, you know?
Yeah.
It's quite thick, yeah. Good thing I didn't like double it or anything. I'm not going to chill them in the fridge for an hour because it doesn't really make sense to me. They'll be solid enough to where we can top them. Then we'll just pop them in the oven and bake them until everything is cooked through. So I'll just preheat the oven now. So I will preheat it to 180 degrees Celsius, which is roughly 350 Fahrenheit. That. Basil. That smells good. So for basil, what I do is remove the stem parts. I just pack the leaves on top of each other, and then I kind of roll them tight. Then I'm getting tiny little strips of basil. So I'm just gonna saute the mushrooms first with a little bit of water. No, not dump it on. So I'll saute these until they shrink a little bit. They'll give off some liquid. I know the sauce has seasoning, but I like to season everything. You want to layer the flavors. Alrighty, these haven't been cooking for very long at all. We cut them super thin so they cook quickly. Now I'm gonna add in the zucchini and just keep sauteing them. And this is still on a high heat, so I'm just gonna keep stirring these until the zucchini let off their juice too, and most of the liquid has evaporated. Zucchini cooks quickly.
Yeah, there's like nothing to it.
Yeah, I feel like the times recommended in the recipe, the written recipe, are incorrect, because it said to cook the mushrooms for like 5 to 7 minutes. They were done within like a minute, it seemed like. Most of the liquid's gone, so I'll just turn off the heat, take them out of there, and then we can start doing the red pepper. We could have just sauteed everything together. Alright, I'm gonna do the same thing with the bell peppers. So I'll just add them in there. Pan's still hot. And then once these are soft, I will add some nutritional yeast. A few spoonfuls of that. It's hard to explain what it is, but it's like, it tastes like cheese flakes. It's like savory flakes. I don't know.
Because it's like deactivated yeast, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just a nice cheesy, savory powder that you can add to any savory dish. So these are pretty much done, I would say, and it's only been in there for like a minute, 2 minutes. But the recipe said to cook them for 10 minutes, and that's just way too long, because we're gonna bake it anyways. So you just want to cook the peppers until they're a little soft. Like, I'll just turn the heat off now, add the nutritional yeast, mix it up, and it'll be fine. And some nutritional yeast tastes better than others. This brand's like meh. Once you're ready to top the pizzas, I'll add the fresh basil in there too. First, the sauce. Oh yeah. Just mixing in the basil with the red bell pepper. I don't know why I'm using my hands.
Because you have them.
My hands are gonna get all like sticky. No. Pizza casserole things ready to go. And now we're gonna bake them for 30 minutes, I think. So this is more casserole than pizza, but I'm hopeful it'll taste good. Yeah, it's like whoever made the pizza for this, the photo, did an excellent job. It looks delicious. It doesn't look like ours though. So it's only been 12 minutes and some of the veggies on the top are starting to blacken already.
Yeah, just put the bottom one on top and top one on bottom.
Alright, we'll just keep it going. Whew. Pizza steam. That smells good. A little jiggly. I guess it is a casserole.
Yeah, and like if we leave it to like cool down a little bit,
Yeah.
it'll probably be fine.
Pardon?
Yeah.
Pizza time.
This smells really good.
It does, it's the fresh basil.
I feel like we have to wait for it to cool down anyway, because we won't be able to eat it that way.
We will attempt to cut this. I feel like it's too jiggly.
Oh yeah, it is.
You don't care, we're hungry now.
No. It's gonna be just as good.
Yeah. It's gonna be like a slop. I think if we let it cool longer, it would be...
Well, we can test it with the other one.
Yeah, this is so not what I was expecting. It's definitely not a pizza. It's like lasagna. Yeah, I'd prefer it to be more solid.
I like the taste though.
Yeah, it tastes good. Yeah, the sauce is definitely good. I think that's my favorite part, is the sauce.
But what we should do is make this sauce and prep everything as we did. But make the base out of the sweet potatoes.
Because we have another recipe for a sweet potato crust that was more solid, like more like a traditional pizza crust recipe. You can find that in my vegan recipes playlist. And I do like the polenta, even though it's like soft right now. I would recommend, if you're going to try this recipe from Forks Over Knives, I would do half of the recipe, because the original recipe called for this amount of polenta to make 2 small pizzas. We probably could have stretched this to make three full pans. Then it would have been thinner, and I think it would have baked a lot better to where it wouldn't be so soft.
Or like maybe if you would use, instead of corn flour, use like the corn, just like ground the corn like pearls.
So would you cook it the same as polenta?
I'm just guessing that maybe.
Oh, okay, I see. That might work better because it won't be as fine. I'm not sure how those cook up. I'm guessing it's similar to couscous. The sauce and veggies for this recipe would be really nice over pasta, rice, couscous, some other grain. I like the taste of it.
I like it too. It actually tastes really good when you mix it up.
Mix it up, as you can hear in the background. Good work.